and just welcome everybody. For those of you that are going to be watching this replay, welcome to you as well. This is one of my favorite methods in Shipko. Shipko's got some very unique methods. This is one of my favorites because it shines a light on why most entrepreneurs quit their business for this thing called the fulcrum. So we'll be introducing you guys to that. And we have a couple of other events coming up in the next month. We do probably about 3 events a month. We've got an event coming up called the 10K Challenge, and that's on June 13th. And that's for anybody that does not have their business above 10K a month. That's a great event to attend. And then on June 19th, we have what we call the Meet the Experts. So you get to meet our mentors and coaches. So we always have about at least 3 events a month. You're welcome to join any of those. Really, really glad you're here. My background, I've been a serial entrepreneur. Prior to that was a corporate executive, helped take an internet company public on the NASDAQ stock exchange way back in the day in 1999. I'm older than I look. And then I had this epiphany in 2008 that I wanted to make a difference and make money, and started a purposeful Shark Tank called Share on Purpose. And Share on Purpose invests in conscious businesses. And then we also cultivate our own businesses and create them from scratch. Succeed on Purpose was business number 1, Ignite on Purpose number 2. You can see there's a theme here. Promote on Purpose number 3, Talent on Purpose number 4, and then our 5th business that you're participating in was Shipko. So excited to be here today. So this idea for Business Simple came from my own experience as an entrepreneur. And it really is a strategy to scale your business from wherever it is to 1 million and beyond, if you want to go that far. Not everybody does, and you don't have to, but it is a strategy to do that. And the easiest way to think about the analogy is that if you were a rock climber, and you were standing at the bottom of a big rock, as you can see, this guy's already starting to scale the rock. Let's say he's at the bottom of that rock, and you're looking at the rock and you're looking up at it and you're like, wow, that's a big rock. How am I going to do that? Well, it's hard if you stand at the bottom and you look at how far you have to go. A rock climber would never start. But what a rock climber does is they reach one hand and one leg up. So you can see that in this picture. He's got his right hand and his right leg up, and they get a firm hold on that. And once they're feeling solid and balanced, then they take the left hand and the left leg and they take a step up. And then they shift over, and then the right hand goes up. So that's basically what that analogy is, what made me understand why business feels so hard, is because we're standing at the bottom of the rock and we're thinking, how on earth am I ever going to build this business to 10K a month or 30K a month or $1 million a year? How on earth am I going to do that? Well, you do that by one step at a time. And so this methodology is designed to show you what those steps are, so that you can begin to stop beating yourself up for the fact that it feels hard. Yes, it is hard. Building a business is hard, but if you begin to look at it differently, it can be simple, okay? So what do we mean by this rock and balancing? The 2 sides that you always have to balance in any business to scale it from 0 to 10K a month, from 10K a month to 30K a month, from 30K a month to 1 million a year. There's 2 things that you have to balance, just like that rock climber right, left. Those 2 things are supply and demand. But there's this little tricky part. So I'm going to use a little prop here. Let's say that this piece of metal is like a seesaw. So we've all seen a seesaw, and kids get on the seesaw and it goes up and down, and depending on how many kids and what size they are, it's never quite in balance. But there's a piece of the seesaw called the fulcrum, and the fulcrum is the piece of metal that balances the 2 opposing sides. That's basically what you're fighting against. That's what makes a business feel hard, is this thing called the fulcrum. And the fulcrum is the pressure point between 2 opposing forces in your business. On a seesaw, it's a piece of metal. On a human, it's our core. So rock climbers strengthen their core. One of the most intense workouts they do is core workouts because they need their core to be really strong as they're going right, left, right, left. So we need to be able to understand this fulcrum in our business and make it strong. Okay, so these two opposing forces are demand, what's the business revenue each month, and supply, how am I going to service that revenue? So if I'm a water bottle manufacturing company, and let's say that I sell 10,000 water bottles, well, if I don't have enough capacity to make 10,000 water bottles, I have a problem. I don't have enough supply capacity. In a services business, supply is first your time. Is there enough hours in the day to handle the work that you have? And so the most important thing that I want you to grasp is if you want to make your building a business more simple, you have to get comfortable with this pressure point between these two opposing forces. They're rarely in alignment. So either you have too much demand and not enough supply, or you have too much supply capacity and not enough demand. And it's going to be that way for a while. I'm going to help you understand the differences in these three fulcrums that you'll be experiencing and also what to do about them. So let's start with the first fulcrum. First fulcrum is 0 to 10K. Okay, so this line, this purple line that you see is what the revenue looks like in a business that's 0 to 10K. And what this line looks like is, woo, we got a new project and I'm out there doing the new project, and then the project ends and now I don't have any more work. So you get stuck in this, get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work. And it feels like there's not enough time to work on the business, much less grow it. And it can kind of feel a little bit like Groundhog Day. So if your business is under 10K a month and you're trying to scale it, you're going to see these ups and downs in your business. And it's frustrating because it's like, oh, wow, I had a great month. And then, oh, wow, I don't have enough business coming in. And you just, we're not used to that because most of us had a corporate job and we got a check every 2 weeks and we knew what the check was going to be and we'd get a raise every now and then. And, we knew what that was going to change our check to. So we're not used to these ups and downs and the inconsistencies. And so this can be very frustrating. It can make you think you're doing something wrong. But to be honest, this first fulcrum, 0 to 10K, this is very normal. This is what it looks like. So you've got to get comfortable with this pressure point. The second fulcrum looks like this green line. And so the green line here happens in 10 to 30K. This one, if your business is between 10 to 30K, I believe is the most frustrating of the fulcrums because it feels like it should be working. But rather than the big swings, there are these little ups and then a down, the Groundhog Day, and then a little up and then a down, and then sometimes a bigger down. And so that's what it looks like when you're in the second fulcrum. And the third fulcrum still it's not the straight line that we think it should be. And so this is 30K in a month to $1 million. That's what your revenue is going to look like. It's working. Oh, wow, we just lost a client. Oh, it's working. It's flat. Why is it flat? It's working. And so you get like these stairs. There's dips, but they're minor and short-lived, assuming you have the infrastructure in place to handle it. So again, wherever your business is, no judgment, just acknowledge that your revenue probably looks like one of these three lines, okay? So let's put these three fulcrums into context. So SHIFCO is based on something I built called the Conscious Business Growth Platform. What that is we break building a business down into 10 phases, and then we identify what you need to learn in each of these phases. So what we call launch is 0 to 10K. Launch can take a long time. There are some people that it can take 15 years to get their business above 10K. Other people, they get it above 10K in 2 or 3 months. So no right or wrong, doesn't matter. Just look at the revenue level. that revenue level, you're going to experience the first fulcrum. And the first fulcrum is what I call the time fulcrum. The time fulcrum, there are not enough hours in the day. So you work really hard to get business, you get the business, you start servicing the business. Sorry for that. You start servicing the business, and then I don't have time to get more business. And so that fulcrum, that pressure point is constant and very frustrating. The second fulcrum is called the resource fulcrum. And the resource fulcrum happens between the 10 to 30K a month. The resource fulcrum is very frustrating. Sorry about that. The resource fulcrum is very frustrating because there's not enough resources, resource being time, money, people. And that is very, very frustrating. So whereas in the time fulcrum, it's probably just you and maybe a contractor. So still not enough time, but it's just you. And you don't have contractors to pay, you don't have salaries to pay, but there's just not enough time. When you get to the resource fulcrum, there's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough people. I got to hire the people, then I got to hope the people work out, and then I got to pay the contractors, and then I got to collect from the client. It's very, very, very frustrating. The second fulcrum is the one I like the least. And then the third fulcrum happens when you're on your way to 1 million and beyond, and it's a leadership fulcrum. Do you have the right leaders underneath you as the CEO to run the business? So 3 fulcrums we're going to be looking at. Know yourself and know where your business is and know which of these fulcrums. And then don't judge yourself. Like I've been an entrepreneur now for almost 25 years. I've been a serial entrepreneur. It's a long time. I think I was telling somebody today, I've been an entrepreneur longer than I was a corporate executive. Long time. And I start a business today, still go through the same fulcrums. There's no way around it. And I tried spending my way. I tried investing more. I tried, hiring people ahead of when I needed them. You're still going to go through the same 3 fulcrums. Even as experienced as I've been with multiple decades as an entrepreneur and having been very successful with multiple exits, you're still going to go through these same fulcrums. So just be okay with that. So now the question becomes, well, how do I get through those fulcrums? How do I do that? Well, it starts first with identifying what needs to change. So in each of these fulcrums, there's like an Achilles heel. There's something that's holding you back. And it can feel like it's 50 things, but it is really going to be just one thing that needs to change. Maybe it's where you spend your time. Maybe it's being smarter with where you spend your time. Maybe it's saying no to more things. But determining what needs to change is the first step. And we're going to go through that exercise in a minute. The second is understanding what I call the net profit of time, not just maximizing time, but what's the net profit time. And third is then we're going to look and evaluate 5 different ways to change what needs to be changed so that we profit more from the time that we do have available. We're going to use these 5 ways to sort that out. So let's start first with what needs to change. So this grid, I use this grid for every business. I use this grid about every 3 months. I get frustrated and I feel very compacted because silly old me, I have 5 businesses. All 5 of those businesses are in one of those 3 fulcrums. So how do you think that works? It's very frustrating. And every couple of months, I feel like I'm going to lose my mind. And I pull out this grid and I plot things on this grid. And the way this grid works, and by the way, you feel happy to take a picture of it, or I can send you a copy of a grid that you can edit. I look at first, what do I actually enjoy? So the things that I enjoy are going to be up here. So anything that I enjoy doing, I like doing these webinars. I love teaching. So that would be something that would be up here for me. I like actually doing social media, believe it or not. Social media is going to be like it right here. I don't like project management. So that for me is going to be down here. So things that drain me, project management drains me. So you're going to plot things that in terms of how much energy they give you, but also how much impact. So anything that you love doing that makes a difference in demand or supply, maybe you do like working with your customers, put that up here. Maybe there's certain customers that you like, put that up here. And so you're plotting all of the major chunks of things that you do, and the things that you love to do that are high impact go here. The things you don't like to do, like sending out invoices, collecting money, that would go down here. I don't like doing it, but it's a high impact, needs to be done. And then over on the other side, you're going to have up here high impact things, or sorry, things you really enjoy, but maybe they don't give you much impact. And then down here are going to be the things you really should be outsourcing. You don't like doing them and they're not very impactful. So you take this chart and you plot all of the things that you're doing in big chunks: project management, hiring people, proposals, demand generation, marketing, networking, speaking, if you're doing speaking, putting together deliverables for clients, making your product, sending out invoices, collecting, just list everything out and put it in one of these 4 squares. And what you're looking for are the things that are in the upper right. They're going to be high energy, high impact. You want to do more of those. Things that are in the lower right hand, don't like doing them. They drain me, but they're high impact. We want to look at outsourcing those. And then we want to keep more of the things that are fulfilling and outsource more of the things that are not. Okay, so that's step number 1, is you're going to figure out what needs to change. And again, I do this chart about every 3 months. Because I get frustrated with these fulcrums that we're in, and then I start reallocating and start rescheduling and reprioritizing based on this grid. And if this particular session appealed to you, you're in one of those fulcrums. It feels like there's not enough time, or there's not enough resources, or there's not enough leaders. And you just have to get okay with that, because it's going to be that way for a while. Then, after you know what needs to change, now we start thinking differently about time. And that's why I changed my thinking about this. And now I think about it as, what's the net profit of the time? Not what's the impact of the time, but how can I profit from time? And so the way to think about this is, first of all, what is 1 hour of your time worth? Most entrepreneurs, when I ask this question, they don't know the answer to this question. You should know the answer to this question. And sometimes it's going to feel like, well, based on my revenue and how many hours I'm working, 1 hour of my time is only worth $20. Well, no, that's not true. That might be what it is today because you're in a fulcrum. But if you had things more aligned, what would it be worth? The easiest way to calculate that is to decide how much money you want to be making. So let's say my business is $7,000 a month right now, and I want to grow it so that my income is $300,000 a year in my business. Now that's obviously before expenses and stuff like that. But let's say, or let me make it easier since I'm not good with math. Let's say it's 100,000. I want my business revenue to be 100,000. And then you divide that by 2,000 hours. So that would be $50 an hour. So if I wanted my income in a year to be, my business income to be 100,000 divided by 2,000 hours, then 1 hour of my time is worth $50. That's the best way to do it. Not what you're making now, but what do you want to be making? If you were managing the fulcrum and managing your energy about the fulcrum, what would it be worth? And then, okay, say, all right, let's say that 1 hour of my time is worth $50. And let's say I don't like doing the accounting. Well, what does it cost to outsource that? Well, if 1 hour of my time is worth 50, but I could outsource to a bookkeeper for 20, if I outsource it, I could make more money if I'm smart. Okay. So it doesn't mean we're going to go hire a bookkeeper right away, but it does let me know that there's some net profit if I can get some of that time back. And then ultimately, that's how you figure out the net profit of time. So you say, how much money do I want to be making? Put a number down, divide it by 2,000 hours. There's about 2,000 hours a year. Okay, that is what my time, an hour of my time is worth. What's the cost to outsource? Maybe you don't like social media, maybe you don't like accounting. Pick anything that you want. What's the cost to outsource it per hour? The leftover is a net profit of time. And that's how you want to begin to think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, because we're going to grow the business. And we're going to talk about how we're going to do that in a minute. Well, the way that we grow the business is we have to get some of the things off our plate. That grid that we just covered is going to help us figure out which things come off our plate. But we also want to take things off our plate so that we're working in a more profitable way. Now, when we finish, we're getting ready to go into the toolkit, what I call the Business Simple toolkit here in a minute. And when we finish this, I'll stop the recording and then we'll take questions from those of you that are attending live. But I want you to go ahead and do this calculation, because I think what you're going to find is if you set a goal for where you wanted your business to be, and you really began to think about what could I outsource and where could I do it, you're going to find that you can actually make more money if you grow your revenue. So let's talk about how we do that. This is what I call the Business Simple Toolkit. There's 5 tools that you have to work with in this toolkit. So the first thing is your product offering. One of the things that you should be looking at is, should you be doing all of the things you're doing in your business? Because here's what happens. When we're an entrepreneur, we're trying to pay our bills and we start taking work we shouldn't be taking. And we take it because we need to pay the bills, but then a year into it, it's not really good work for us to be taking. So that's the first place. Before you think about adding people or contractors, one of the things you should do a hard look at is look at all of your services, your products. Let's say that, back to my bottle manufacturer, I have 3 different types of bottles, and most of the ones I sell are this size, but I also have those little bottles, and I don't sell as many of those, and they're not as profitable. A smart business is going to get rid of that SKU. They're going to get rid of that small bottle, and they're going to say, this is not efficient. I need to get rid of that. Well, that's what you're going to do. You're going to look at, I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and this work over here, I don't make any money and I don't even enjoy doing it. Why am I doing it? Stop doing it. Okay. So that's the first way. The second, and I'm going to give you a little toolkit, is looking at people and resources. Who can you hire to do the things you don't enjoy doing that really you should not be doing? And how much revenue do you need to be making to hire them? The third one, and this is very true for conscious entrepreneurs, is looking at pricing and profits. Most of the time, conscious entrepreneurs are not charging appropriately for their services, and they need to reevaluate the pricing. That's why we have a dedicated pricing expert inside of ShiftCo. She's dedicated to helping members with their pricing strategies, because most people they're not pricing appropriately. They're underpricing themselves. And then the fourth one is process, tools, and technology. Ironically, it is smarter to add to do your process first, then people, then tools. Do it in that order. I learned this from one of my best friends. She's on ShiftCo's board of directors. She's member number 3, and she taught me that do process first, then look at adding people, because they'll refine the process, and then you add tools. But sometimes adding tools can make you more efficient. And then the 5th is partnerships. A lot of times you can continue to do some of the work that you're doing, but do it through a partner, and they keep a portion of the revenue and you keep a portion of the revenue. So these are the 5 tools that you have to make your business more simple. But the only way this works is that when you implement one of these tools and you get some time back, let's say that I add a contractor to do my social media, and it saves me 5 hours a week. Okay. Because I'm spending 5 hours a week doing my social media. When I get those 5 hours back, where do they need to go? They need to go into demand gen. And remember that fulcrum. So the fulcrum is supply and demand. Supply is all of these things in these circles. So that's all of the ways that we build more capacity. Demand, whatever time I get back when I implement one of those, has to go into demand gen. So we've got to put it back into demand gen, just like that mountain climber, right, left, right, left, supply, demand, supply, demand. That's the only way you can get through that. Now, one of the ways to help you figure out where to focus is what we call the diagnostic prescriptive method or model. To put this into perspective, in July of 2021, 53.4% of our members doubled their revenue, okay? In December of last year, it was 84.9% of our members doubled their revenue. So we're really proud of these statistics. The reason why we are as successful in helping our members double their revenue is because of the diagnostic prescriptive framework, focusing on one thing at a time. Every member fills out that grid that we looked at in a minute. They look at the things they love to do, and they look at the things that are providing impact, and we identify one area at a time to address. I want you to do that exercise. Fill out that grid, fix one thing at a time. Don't try to fix 5, just pick one thing at a time. And I'm going to show you how to think through that in a minute. Second is the other reason why we're successful is we have an entire team that supports your success. You get, multiple mentors, multiple coaches, and they're all working with you in different capacities. And then the third is personal and mindset. So one of the things that you should definitely do is Shipko offers lots of mindset tools. Look at our YouTube page. It'll be under Personal Fuel. And look at things like Prosperity Challenge and Pure Confidence and the Mindset and Success Switch, because you got to really get your mind right in order to be successful. So on this diagnostic prescriptive format, if you are under 10K a month, your biggest problem is there's not enough hours in the day to do what you need to do. Guess what? Welcome to being an entrepreneur. But the good news is there's only 3 things of all of the things that you need to do. There's only 3 things that you absolutely have to focus on. The first one is making sure the business fits you naturally. Second is demand generation. And third is differentiation. So rather than thinking about the 50 things, you want to put your time into what we call FD squared. If you're in shape, so you're 10 to 30 and above, you have what's called the resource fulcrum. What you need to focus on is what is going to be your outsourcing plan. You should know, what am I going to outsource? Who am I going to hire? At what level am I going to do? When my business gets to 20K, what is going to come off my plate? When my business gets to 25K, what is going to come off my plate? When my business gets to 30K, what's going to come off my plate? So that diagnostic prescriptive, if you're in that phase, that's how you put that strategy together. And then if you're in build, you're really building the leadership team. And so what you're focusing there is what's the design of the organization? What leaders do I need? Where do I need them? And how we go about that in Shipko is it starts first with what phase are you in? So let me put these back up here. Secondly is which one thing are you going to focus on? That's what we call the map. Which of those one things are you going to focus on? And then how are you going to ultimately get there? So for those of you that are on live today for this rescheduled event, in a minute, I'm going to pause the presentation and we're going to answer some questions. For those of you that are listening in, if your business is under 10K a month, take the 10K challenge, because we give you a specific roadmap to go from where you are to getting your business above 10K. Also join us for Meet the Experts. We'd love to have you there. And again, thank you guys so much for your flexibility, as I had to reschedule this session a couple of weeks ago. And we'll send a copy of this out to everybody. And then for those of you that are here live, we're going to take your questions in just 1 minute.